side, coupled with a brick, brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast on this terrific Tuesday. Week 4 is officially started in the NFL season. I'm your host, Zach Stevens, joined by my man, Andrew Mason. And before we hop into the show to start Ravens week, Mace, gotta tell you about our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online, because MSU Denver Online is the new urban online university with learning outcomes equivalent to face-to-face courses. They don't care over at MSU Denver if you are going to college online or if you're going in person, because you get the exact same education, which means you get the exact same degree. So make sure to check out MSU Denver Online. It's Trez and Jared want to know all about it, so check them out over at MSU Denver Online. My boy, Mace, what is shaking, my friend?
Hey, you know what? We had that headline on the Broncos for real. If they win on Sunday, it'll be FOUR.
Oh,
real.
they will be for real.
There's the headline. Okay,
there you
so
go.
Don't try to use it.
So next
I'm already
week,
claiming it.
Next
if the
week
Broncos
we're
win.
using it.
Yes.
I love it. So Mace, let's jump right in. Are the 3-0 Denver Broncos, are the AFC West leading Denver Broncos, are the AFC leading Denver Broncos for real?
Define the level of for real. Are we talking about them pushing for an AFC title, or are we talking about being a playoff contender?
Let's talk about this in multiple different senses,
Yes.
but the way I'll present it to you at first is, are they a for real 3-0 team?
I mean, they beat the teams in front of them.
But yet they did. Very good.
Would they be 3-0 if one of those teams were the Kansas City Chiefs or the Cleveland Browns or the Buffalo Bills? Probably not.
Wait, let's break it down this way, Mace.
Yeah.
Would they be for real if they had the Las Vegas Raiders scheduled that they've had so far? Because the Raiders and the Broncos, crazy enough, are the only two undefeated teams in the entire AFC. And here's what the Raiders schedule has looked like. Ravens at home. We'll find out about that one in just a couple of days here. Steelers on the road. Funny enough, we'll find out about that one just about 12 days from now. And then Dolphins at home.
The Ravens game is the one, and that's why we're going to know about that, I think, on Sunday.
Yep, I think so too.
I think based on what we have seen from the Steelers, as good as their defense is, there's something missing. And the Broncos' defense, by the way, would be the best one that the Steelers have faced. So they only get 10 on Cincinnati. Would you be surprised if the Broncos hold the Steelers to 10 or even 6 or 9 points?
No,
in Pittsburgh,
and no,
I wouldn't either.
And Mace, and that's where this conversation starts for me, is saying if the Broncos are for real, this defense is for real, because it's not like they've been messing around and allowing 20 points to these bad teams, but only holding them to 20. No. They have been unbelievable, holding every opponent to under 14 points, averaging only 20, or they've only given up as a team 26 points, but one of that came off a punt return. So really, they've only given up
7 points a game.
Exactly. Yeah. So this defense is for real, and we're not talking about this team winning games 41-40 because Teddy Bridgewater has gone off for 5 touchdowns, and people are wondering, can he maintain this? No, we're not wondering that. That's when I think there would be questions. What we're talking about is an entire defensive unit that has battled through injuries, is still looking this good. And Mace, that's something that carries over into October, November, December, January, and we found out a couple years ago, even February.
You start getting some of those parts on defense back. Obviously, Josie Jewell's out, but you're going to get Ronald Darby here probably after this game.
Yep.
You're going to get Bradley Chubb back in another few weeks here. But Darby coming back is interesting because it does give you an embarrassment of riches at the cornerback position. How do you kind of move things around? Maybe do you have more packages that involve that dime? And Surtain has done really well on the outside, but do you have him assuming a dual role where sometimes he's playing outside, sometimes he's playing inside in the dime? Because you get to some of these opponents, like you get to the Raiders in a couple of weeks, right? And the Raiders, you're probably going to want to go with a lot of dime.
Yep.
And you're going to want Patrick Surtain covering Darren Waller.
Oh, juicy.
Yes, that's your best shot, right?
Yep.
So you're getting Darby back in the nick of time when you're really going to start needing him and needing those packages against teams that go so deep in terms of pass catching targets.
Yep.
So that part works out great.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, Mace, is what happened last year to the Broncos at the beginning of the season, just decimated by injuries, and they weren't able to overcome that. And that was an excuse. Some people called it a legitimate reason. This year, Mace, they've been hit just as hard, pretty much, except for like a season-ending injury to a Von Miller type. They've been hit just as hard in terms of on the field. And you know what? It's not an excuse anymore. It's not a reason why they're losing. They're finding a way to overcome that, and that is huge because, sure, injuries can be a legitimate reason why a team struggles, but Mace, every team is going to have injuries. The Broncos were hit so hard last year, harder than most teams, but they're being hit so hard this year, harder than most teams, and they're still making it through, even against bad teams. So that's another reason why I'm saying this Broncos team is for real. And another reason, Mace, why I'm saying this Broncos team is for real is look at the way that this team was built. They were built supposed to win with an elite defense and at least an average offense would make them a playoff team. Well, what do they have? They have the best defense in the NFL, only giving up 26 total points to this point. Next best is the Panthers at 30, and their offense is better than average. Right now, I believe they're just shy of the top 10 in terms of points scored at 76, and that is the formula for success for this team. So again, they're not winning in fluky ways here. And then Mace, maybe the most important thing to show that they're for real, even after playing three bad teams, is they have the largest point differential in the entire NFL at plus 50. They're tied with the Bills for that lead, but that tops the NFL. And so you can say, well, the teams they've played are really bad. That's true. 0-9, which is pretty crazy. But look at the margin of error that they've built themselves, Mace. They have plus 50. That means they're winning games by an average of 16.6 points per game. That is a huge margin of error for when they go up against better teams, and they can, instead of beating teams by 16 points, they can beat them by still 2 touchdowns less, and they're still winning those games. So everything we've seen from the Broncos so far, nothing that I can really point to, and outside of individual play from positions, says that they're not for real.
Here's the interesting thing: like if you go to Football Outsiders and look at the DVOA, which is getting into value over average, so this accounts for the quality or lack thereof of your opposition. Broncos' offense is 7th.
Yep.
And now, so some of that is on yardage and overall efficiency. They're actually slightly below in terms of the opponent average over the course of the year in terms of what their offense has accounted for. I believe it's like 0.8 points per game below the average. But then the flip side of that is the Broncos are holding opposing teams to 5.3 points below their average.
Yep.
Which is really significant here, and why I think people shouldn't be disappointed if they see the Ravens put up 20, 21, 22, 23 points.
Absolutely
because you know what? If you hold the Ravens to 22 points, then you have done exactly what you did in the first 3 games, average-wise, in terms of holding your opponent below their average. The Ravens are averaging a little over about 27 points a game.
Yep.
So if you hold them to 5.3 points below, they're sitting right there at 22.
And that's all you can ask from a defense.
And do you think this offense is good enough to score 24 points?
Absolutely. At home?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the magic number, right?
Yep.
And we've seen them hit 24 points 2 out of 3 games. And the game they didn't hit that threshold in Jacksonville, it was because they took a knee at the end. If they play that out, they score 30.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be looking at 3 games above that magic number. Don't forget the Jets' defense is pretty good. I mean, Carolina had 19 points against the Jets. New England had 25. Broncos had 26. I know people are frustrated about the lack of red zone success, but you did better against a pretty good defense, what appears to already be at least an average defense, maybe even a tick above average, and you put up 26 points on them.
Yep.
that's actually a very good output
Yeah.
against the Jets.
Yeah, it is.
You're satisfied with that.
And the Jets just above
Right.
league average in terms of points allowed per game. And the Broncos hurt that league average, or hurt the
Right.
Jets as well by putting up 26 points against them. And so, Mace, let's break it down more precisely. So, yes, they're a for real 3-0 team.
Yes.
Are they a for real playoff team?
They're a for real playoff team, still a fringe playoff team, though.
Okay, now why fringe? Because that would make me think, okay, maybe they're not 100% for real, which is okay. I mean, there can be different levels.
And when I say fringe, I mean like seed 5 to 7.
Okay.
Even though, yes, they are in first place today, tied with the Raiders, one game above the Chargers. The Chargers getting that win in Kansas City on the heels of that narrow loss to Dallas. If the Chargers have figured out how to win close games, which has been their issue the last couple of years, if they have remedied that, the Chargers are probably going to end up ahead of the Broncos at the end of the season because it's a more complete team. With all respect to Teddy Bridgewater, you have a quarterback who's capable of accomplishing a lot more. So it's just the way of things. The Broncos might be a third-place team that has 11 or 12 wins. Really, the variable in that might be is how down is Kansas City?
Right.
How off are the Chiefs?
Right.
So that's why I say I still don't see division title from this team.
Okay.
I do, however, look at the Broncos schedule and see you've still got games left against Philadelphia and Detroit.
Yep.
At home. So you already have 3 wins stuffed away, acorns in the tree. Couple more, that's 5.
Ooh, wait, you just said something that
What?
really made me think this is a for real team. If you
And
are
this-
comfortable stashing away wins against bad teams,
Yes.
then that's a level of for real that Mace, the Broncos have not been there since Peyton Manning was
They
here.
haven't, and because that's 3 games they have, and there are 2 more games that I think you ought to be able to put in Sharpie at this point.
Wow. That's for
I'm
real.
I'm not putting Cincinnati in Sharpie.
Okay.
Because
I
what
wouldn't
we have
either.
seen from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase together is that the two of them are capable of taking over a game, even against a defense that is geared towards stopping the two of them.
Yeah,
And
the-
that's-
the Bengals right now 2-1, Mace.
Right. So we're not putting that one in Sharpie, but I think you put Detroit and Philly in Sharpie. That's 5 wins. And then against everybody else, can you go 500?
Right.
Actually, I mean, you don't even probably have to go 500. You can probably go 5-7 and still be a 7th seed. But I think but you go 500 and you're against those other teams, you're 11-6. You're
Yep.
probably comfortably in the playoffs.
You are.
Probably a 6 or a 7 seed.
Yep, probably not division.
Right. But you're comfortably in the postseason.
Yep.
And I think this team can go 500 against everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. And I expect that to happen over the next month right now, Mace.
But can they go win 75% of the games against everybody else
without dropping any of the games that
Right.
you have in Sharpie.
And that would and that's the difference between viewing this team as for real for being a playoff team or viewing this team as for real in terms of contending for a Super Bowl. I don't think they're there. We will probably get our answer here in the next 6 games. If the Broncos go 3-3 in the next 6, then they're for real as a playoff contender. But what if in that next
6-3 too.
let's say they go 4-2. Let's say maybe they steal a win that you don't expect. Maybe and I would say stealing wins would involve getting a win at Dallas, at Cleveland, and maybe against Pittsburgh, but not. Let's say Baltimore,
Yeah.
Cleveland, Dallas. You win those games. Win one of those games, you're stealing one. You should beat the Raiders at home. The Raiders are a good team, but you should beat them in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
You should beat Washington at home.
Yep.
And the way Pittsburgh is trending, you should beat them. You win one of those other 3 games, Dallas, Cleveland, Baltimore at home, then you can talk about this. You can talk about this team. I mean, shoot, they could be 8. If they do that, they could be 8-2
Yep.
at the bye.
So
8-2.
So is that?
And then you're a legit Super Bowl contender.
Do you feel like you have to wait until the bye in order to say that they're a legitimate division contender?
I would say probably if they beat the Ravens, Steelers, and Las Vegas, If they take these next 3, then I don't think we have to wait for the bye to know that.
Okay, and then what about Super Bowl?
The game that could determine, like the 2 games that could determine whether it's a legit Super Bowl contender are Cleveland and Dallas. Because Dallas is really good. And really, I think we're going to look back on Dallas Chargers week 2 as a couple of the league's top 8 teams playing a team that went down to the end.
I agree.
Dallas, I think, has clearly established themselves as one of the top quarter of teams in the league. It's going to be really tough to go down there in November. We're looking way ahead here, but that's a tough matchup. But I think we can start looking at that and saying that's another litmus test game. There's going to be the litmus test game this Sunday, and I think the next real big litmus test is probably Cleveland. Unless you lose to both Pittsburgh and Las Vegas, then you fail the test and you're struggling.
Right. You're starting over.
But Baltimore, Cleveland, Dallas, those are the games that I think determine whether this team is more than just a fringe playoff team. And then you can start dreaming the big dreams of SoFi Stadium in February.
And I think that test that you just described isn't determining if the Broncos are a playoff team. I think all they have to do is really win the games that they're supposed to win, steal one they're not supposed to, and then they can drop one that they're not supposed to. Then they're a playoff team. With this 3-0, the 3-0 start, Mace gives them a huge cushion. 75, the magic number, 75% of teams that start 3-0 make the playoffs. That number is only going to go up with an extra playoff team being added.
It's actually 80% if you start looking at where they are point differential-wise.
There we go. So so that's why I think this team is already a for real playoff team. I don't need to see anything more. Those games that you talked about before the bye, Mace, those are to determine if the Broncos are a legitimate contender in the AFC West for that title, because we know with the Chargers and the Chiefs, the Broncos are going to have to have a pretty darn good record. If they come out of those games and they still have a pretty darn good record, then they're contenders. But I don't think you can talk about Super Bowl contenders until after the bye. And the reason for that, Mace, is because you still have all 4 games against the Chiefs and the Chargers after that. And the Super Bowl could very easily go through one of those 2 teams or in Denver. So in terms of talking about legitimate Super Bowl chances, I think you got to see how you play the Chargers. And that Chargers game, first week out of the bye, and then you get Kansas City really, really quick after.
See, here's where I disagree with you, because I think contending for the division and contending for the Super Bowl, because of the quality of the AFC West, in particular the Chiefs' proven quality over the years, and the Chargers' quality, where there looks like they're headed to after what they've shown in the first 3 games, contending for the AFC West, I think, means contending for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but because potentially, but
it's not like the AFC South. All respect to the teams there. If you can win that division and not really be in the conversation, and certainly the Titans look like they're going to be in good shape to win that division, but with what that defense looks like, we've already seen them get gashed by a team that could be a legit contender over in the NFC, and that's Arizona. And I'd say that you have those 4 games against the Chiefs and Chargers after the bye, but Baltimore, Cleveland, Dallas, based on what we've seen, and even kind of based on head-to-head, have proven that they are at the quality level of the Chiefs and the Chargers. So if the Chiefs and Chargers are in the conversation, those teams are as well. And if you do well against Baltimore, Cleveland, Dallas, you'll actually have your answer as to whether it's legit contender even before you put toe to leather against the Chargers after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I just disagree with that, because you're going to be going either on the road or hosting one of those teams in the playoffs if you get there, and you need to know how you stack up against those teams before. Whereas competing for the AFC West, it's just about the record. Now, those games against the Chiefs and the Chargers will have something to do with it, but I just really want to see how they do against it within the division before I'm saying they're Super Bowl contenders. But I totally see where you're coming from, Mason. So we're saying that the Broncos are for real right now, and we just laid out what they have to do to become, for real, and that's where this team should be. They've taken care of what they needed to do, and they did it in flying colors.
They blew out the teams they were supposed to blow out. I mean, that's what it's all about. People are like, oh, you only beat Jacksonville by 10. Well, like we discussed earlier, you left 7 points on the board at the end. And do people think Arizona's a legit contender?
I think they should.
Yeah, they beat Jacksonville by 12.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And same situation, both on.
And both of them even had to deal with Jacksonville getting a special teams touchdown. So
Yeah.
basically, the Broncos beat the Jaguars in the end in much the same way as the Cardinals did. People aren't dismissing the Cardinals, right? Like, oh, Kyler Murray, he's an MVP candidate. They're legit. So
And it's just
why dismiss the Broncos then if you're not dismissing the Cardinals?
I have the answer, and the reason is because of Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater, from a casual fan perspective, is viewed as a guy that's been on 5 teams in his 8 years. That's true. Yes, a guy that was traded from the Panthers, and they paid to get rid of him. That's also true. But if you want to be optimistic and look at Teddy Bridgewater and see the upside, you look at what he did in New Orleans in those 5 games and say, well, what if he can do that throughout an entire season? You look and you see that he's only 28 years old. You look and you see that he's a former first-round pick, so the talent is clearly there. And you look and you watch the film and you see these first 3 games, Mace. His success has not been fluky. He has passed the eye test just as much as he has passed the stat test. But Mace, people don't see that if they don't follow this team closely. So that's why. Where on the other hand, Kyler Murray, you have a former number 1 overall pick who's now hitting it off with his genius college-minded coach, and MVP candidate is being talked about.
Yeah.
So that's why the Cardinals are being taken more seriously than the Broncos.
It's all a perception thing.
Exactly.
The thing is, it's kind of what your own heart and eyes tell you, and sometimes those things lie, and that's why you kind of distill it down to what are the actual results. And yeah, the Broncos get to their double-digit win over Jacksonville in a different way than the Cardinals do. Okay, they're both taking 2 different paths to the same destination.
Yep.
But one path is considerably sexier in
true.
terms of how it's perceived.
Yep. Well, Mace,
But the other thing we know is that the Broncos' path, if Teddy Bridgewater can keep doing what he's doing, if he does that, then their path with defense, it's a path that teams have taken in January before.
Yeah, you're right.
Defense travels.
Yep, defense travels, and someone that's buying into the Broncos is Vegas, and our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where Mace, they don't need to be convinced over at DraftKings Sportsbook that the Broncos are for real, because they have the Broncos as favorites in this game, opened up as 1.5-point favorites against the Baltimore Ravens, which is incredible. And if you want to get in on that line, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this incredible offer. If you bet $1 on any game this week, you'll get $150 in free bets instantly. So bet $1, you get $150 to spend, and you can use it on a game tonight. You can use it on Thursday nights. Boring Thursday night game, but if you have juice in it, it'll make it fun. And of course, you can use it on this week's game against the Baltimore Ravens. So make sure to go over to DraftKings Sportsbook, download the app, use the code DNVR to sign up and get $150 in free bets this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I need the reads.
Oh, well, you know what? Let me something that you don't need a read for is knowing about the tailgate that we've got going on. Of course, we've got the digital tailgate Sunday mornings, but then we've got the physical tailgate going on, and of course, it was a hit last week, Mace. It was so cool being so close to the stadium, having unlimited pizza. Breck Brews were flowing. Good Company was flowing. Speaking of Breck Brews, their Good Company seltzers are amazing. And you also have the great company of our DNVR fam, and the party buses are awesome. So you want in? It's only $20 to get all-you-can-eat pizza from Sexy Pizza, which is absolutely delicious. It's only $30 to also get a party bus from the DNVR bar to the tailgate. You get in the tailgate, you get the pizza, you get the beer, you get it all, and then you get a ride back to the state or back to the bar. And what I'll say is, guys, if you come back to the bar after, we'll be doing a post-game pod. Would really like to see you guys and maybe even have another live audience. So make sure to check out the tailgate this week if you're heading to the game. It is the best place to be.
So we have Breckenridge Brews at that tailgate, by the way. I went early. What was the supply of Breck Brews by the end of the tailgate?
Oh, I mean, there were buckets and buckets of Breck. You know, I didn't check on my way out. All I know is the pizza was there. That's for sure.
In other words, what I'm saying is that you come on down to the tailgate and you're going to get a lot of Breckenridge Brews.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's another reason to sign up for the tailgate, because it's a great deal. $20 for the tailgate, $30 for the bus ride, and you get access to our treasure trove of Breckenridge brews, or you can come on down to the DNVR bar whenever you want for dinner this week, and you can get some of those delicious Breckenridge brews. And guess what? When you get a Breckenridge brew at the DNVR bar, at your grocery store, anywhere else, 1% of what you pay for that beer is going to go to the National Parks Conservation Association to help our great outdoors. It's part of the thing that they've got going on this year to help take care of the great outdoors, especially in the wake of the wildfires that were in Colorado last year. So have some of those delicious Breck brews and know that 1% of what you pay for that is going to go to help our great outdoors. Of course, if you want Breck brews, and maybe you're in the suburbs, maybe you're down in Littleton, check out the Farmhouse down off Santa Fe and use that code DNVR to get $5 off your meal. You can eat in or you can take out. 303-803-1380 from noon to 8 p.m. for pickup. Use that code DNVR and save $5 off your meal. And, of course, you can get beer delivery through Drizzly. Yeah, if you're down near the Farmhouse at their brewery in Littleton, and they have the full array of Breck brews down there, just like we have the full array of Breck brews here at the DNVR bar, so check that out.
All right, Mace. Now I want to talk about how for real this defense is. How good is this Broncos defense, and can they hold up against much better teams? Mace, over the past 2 years, no team has had a better offense in terms of scoring than the Baltimore Ravens. So the Broncos jump from shutting the New York Jets out to going up against the best offense in the NFL over the past 2 years. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs. It is the Baltimore Ravens. 2 years ago, they put up over 500 points. Last year, they were in the top 10, making them the most dangerous team in the last 2 years. So my question to you is, will this defense be able to hold up not just against the Ravens this week, but the following week you have the Steelers, who, I mean, the Steelers may be the biggest hit or miss offense in the entire NFL. And then you have the Raiders, who Derek Carr is the only quarterback in the NFL right now to have 3 straight 300-yard passing games. He leads the NFL in passing yards. He has over 1,000 passing yards through the first 3 games of the season, which is just insane. So their offense is clicking, and of course they have a solid running game too. And then, Mace, you also have the Cleveland Browns on the road. That may be the toughest game on the schedule, maybe even including against the Chiefs. So how is this defense going to hold up, going from dominating terrible teams to playing dominant teams?
Well, it's probably going to have its first taste of real adversity.
Okay.
I mean, you think about the first week, and you've got the Giants in single digits all the way until the last play.
Mm-hmm.
Second game, you go against the Jaguars. You shut them down after the first possession. Third game, you shut down the Jets entirely. I mean, this is what you should do to teams like this. But you look at Baltimore, and last week against the Lions snapped a streak of 7 consecutive games, regular season games, I should say, because they had less in the postseason. 7 consecutive regular season games dating back to last year where they'd scored at least 27 points. And since the start of last year, this is a team that is averaging, I believe, let's see here, I got it in front of me, 28.9 points per game since the start of the 2020 season.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're talking about when you're talking about a team.
And Mace, over the past 2 years, over 30 points per game.
Well, the last 2, does that include 2019?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Last 2 full seasons.
Okay, 2+ seasons then. When you said 2 years, I thought you were referring only to 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, this isn't a full season yet.
So, the last 2 seasons, 28.9 points per game since the start of 2020. If you hold that team below to about 5 points below their average, kind of what the Broncos have done to their opponents so far this season, on average, that's 24 points. And that's why against these teams that are looming now, not so much Pittsburgh, but Baltimore, Las Vegas, Cleveland, you have to adjust your expectations of what happens on the scoreboard. If the Broncos, it's like Kansas City. The Broncos, obviously, they haven't beaten the Chiefs since early in the 2015 season. But in the Vic Fangio era, what have the Broncos done against Kansas City's offense? And this is just offense, not accounting for defense, special teams, touchdowns. held them to, I believe,
Held them way under.
23, 23, 29, and 22.
You'll take that any day of the week.
You're holding them to about a touchdown below their average per game output.
Yep.
And that's why I can't be frustrated in any way with what Vic Fangio's defense has done against the Chiefs, because you're doing better against
He's
them
been great against
on
the
a
Chiefs,
consistent basis than
personally.
almost anybody.
Yep.
So my expectation is holding the Ravens to about 5 to 7 points below what they usually do. You hold the Ravens to 21 points, 23 points, guess what? You've done a good job against that unit.
Yes, you absolutely have. And so to put it in perspective, Mace, of what the Broncos have faced and what they're facing in the future, they've faced the New York Jets, who have the worst scoring offense in the NFL, only averaging 6.7 points per game. Boom, that is mind-blowing bad on the Jets' part. So they faced the worst offense in the league. The Jacksonville Jaguars averaged a whopping 17.7 points per game, makes the Jets look even worse.
Don't forget 2 of those are special teams touchdowns.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the Jacksonville Jaguars, still, even with the 2 special teams touchdowns, Mace, that they're still 6th worst in the NFL. And then you have the New York Giants coming in at 9th worst offense in the NFL at 18.7 points. So the Broncos go from playing 3 of the bottom 9 offenses and absolutely dominating them to now in the next 3 weeks, they play 3 of the top 11 offenses in the NFL. This week, the Ravens, they're the 11th highest scoring offense in the NFL, averaging 27.3 points per game. In 2 weeks, they play the Raiders, who are the 7th highest scoring offense in the NFL, averaging 30 points per game. And then a couple weeks after that, they play the Browns, who are the 9th scoring offense in the NFL, averaging 28.7 points per game. So like you said, the Broncos are holding teams under their average already. If they do that here, they still will be giving up in the 20s. They'll be giving up between 22 points per game and 25 points per game. Now, Broncos should absolutely win if they are holding the Baltimore Ravens to 22 points per game. If they're holding the Cleveland Browns to 23 points per game, they should still win, but we're getting a little dicey. And if they hold the Raiders to 25 points a game, boy, it's going to be a close game. The Broncos offense should be able to top those. But, Mace, we're also talking about this Broncos defense keeping them in every single game. And that's not expecting anything great from the offense. If the offense does something great, then these are wins for the Broncos. And it's comfortable saying if the Broncos defense holds these guys to in the 20s and the Broncos offense does their job, then this could be a 3-0 stretch. And then you throw the Pittsburgh Steelers in here, who don't have this good of an offense. We're talking about, 4 wins. But again, you don't need to go 4-0 in this next stretch. You're not playing the Jets, Jaguars, and Giants where you have to get these wins.
There's another thing also that you have to kind of factor in here. We're rattling off offense and defense. You've got to stop having breakdowns on special teams.
There is a margin of error, though, Mace. But yes,
it's a slight margin of error for error. If all of a sudden you give up a touchdown on a kickoff return like you did against Jacksonville, or you had a punt deflected on Sunday by the Jets at one of Sam Martin's punts, Jets got a hand on it. If that's a punt block instead of a punt deflection and it's going back the other way, might be 2 points, might be 7 points.
Well, it really makes this
that's the thing. These margins are close enough to where you got to make sure that phase is on point too, because you don't want that to be the reason that you lose one of these games.
Well, here's the good thing. Here's the good thing, mate. Yes, you absolutely have to clean that up. But here's the good thing is these numbers include that. So the Broncos have the best scoring defense, including their gaffes on special teams. They still lead the league, averaging 8.7 points given up as a team. And we're talking about that as a defense, but that's as a team. That's still the best in the NFL.
Hey, that's good. But you had like you said, the margin for error. The margin for error against
8.7 points per game with that. So
right.
yes,
I know.
Your margin of error is huge. I agree with you about special teams.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's as important as how well the defense plays.
It's not as important, but it's the kind of thing where we're talking about the differences in terms of if the Broncos are at their same rate relative to the average of the opponents and their opponents are. If that's the case, then you're talking about roughly about a 1 or 2 point differential. It's in favor of the Broncos right now in terms of what they've done to date, if they are hitting their rate relative to average for their opponents. But one big mistake flips that. You're in the realm where one mistake in special teams can undo everything you're doing offense versus defense and defense versus offense. And that's why we need to see more from Tom McMahon's unit.
Oh, there's no question about that. That's just something that I don't want to count on because we haven't been able to count on that for a long time.
They're 32nd in special teams right now, and we say it hasn't hurt them, but we always say yet.
Of course. Yeah. Of course, and no one's disagreeing with you that the special teams has to be better.
It's worrisome, and that's when I think about how if the Broncos lose to the Ravens, how it happens. I could see Denver's struggling special teams against a Baltimore special teams unit that is usually good. Don't forget what John Harbaugh's background is on special teams. Mm-hmm. When are the Ravens bad on special teams?
Probably not ever.
Right. Rarely are they substandard. So that's what if I think, okay, if the Broncos have a heartbreaking loss, what do I feel like I might be writing and saying was the difference? And I fear it could be something in the kicking game, in the punting game, in the coverage game.
Yeah, without a doubt. I completely agree with you. And like I said, I think everyone agrees with you that is a concern.
I know that's not the direction we were starting to go in, but that's the thing I keep coming back to as I start evaluating this game is that this should be, in terms of offense versus defense versus offense, this should end up being a fairly even game on balance.
Yeah.
And that's where you say, okay, what happens to tilt it one way or another? It's usually at the margins on special teams.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, Mace, back to the defense. What do you expect from them the next 4 games in this tough stretch where they're going up against really good offenses?
If they allow an average of, say, 22 points a game against these 4 teams, they've done a great job.
Now, is that realistic to expect them to do that going into this? Because you said the 5-point average, they would actually be giving up more than 22 points per game. So they would be doing a better job
even against
than their average.
Even with Pittsburgh coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're also getting Ronald Darby back. You won't have Bradley Chubb, but I think with Malik Reed, they're fine. No offense to Bradley Chubb, but Malik Reed and Von Miller together should be as productive as Von Miller and Bradley Chubb.
Yep.
I don't think there's a huge drop off there, put it that way.
Right.
And because of that, I think it's fair to expect 22 points a game.
I agree.
And if they do that, I expect at minimum they've won 2, and then maybe they've won 3.
Yeah, I think if the defense is able to do that, Mace, I agree.
Yeah.
I do think they end up going 3-1 in this stretch, which is crazy. But also,
what's the loss then? Cleveland Browns?
The loss will be Cleveland on the road on a Thursday night. The way that game is set up is just a nightmare for the Broncos.
So let's dream for a moment. If that's the loss, what is this town like if the Broncos are 6-0?
Oh, it's going to be on fire, Mace. It's going to be on fire. And then you get to come home right after that Cleveland game where you have 10 days off, and you get to play the Washington football team with Taylor Heineke as the quarterback.
Man.
That'll be quite a way to bounce back from a loss.
I'm just sorry. When you said that, it got me thinking, wow, that means they're 6-0. That means a colossal Thursday night game. Think about how the nation would
since that's their only primetime game.
Actually excited. And well, we hope it's not the only primetime game. You were going down the path last week of talking about how if there's a Monday night round 1 game, that allows the Broncos to keep their Monday night streak alive. I'm thinking more in terms of if they're doing well, they get a game flex to Sunday night football at some point.
Chiefs week 18?
Maybe. The first one I looked at was the Chargers.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
But I think Baltimore...
In L.A.?
No, Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, you think the early one?
Well, that's the first one I looked at, and I said, oh, well, no, because I believe the primetime game right now, Sunday Night Football, is Baltimore-Cleveland.
That's sticking.
Yeah, I don't think that's moving. Now, I did see someone bring up Seattle-Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks looking kind of iffy, and that's when the Broncos play the Raiders. They would have to determine that here probably in the next 7 days or so.
They start flexing games already early in the season?
The flex has moved up to earlier in the season, yes.
Wow, but that early, week 6?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wouldn't that
would
be
fun.
something?
At home? Absolutely it would.
We gotta pull this back.
No, we don't.
Because we're taking a dose of the hopium here.
I believe John called me the eternal optimist earlier. I mean, that could be sprayed on Mace as well right now. It's good vibes on this Thursday. And
it's as contagious as Delta variant.
Oh, wow. And I love dreaming right now, Mace. And I love dreaming because there's actually something to go off. And yeah, shout out to John Hoffman. I take that as a compliment, John. So thank you there. And if you need a little confidence boost, Mace, like the Broncos have with 3 straight wins, check out our friends over at Manscaped. Well, they will have you looking good and confident below the belt because they have the best tools for the family jewels. And I'm talking about the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, it's waterproof. It has an LED light. It has wireless charging. It has long-lasting battery life. You can take this thing wherever you want to go. The battery life is going to be there for you. So whether you're in the woods and you're looking to get cleaned up, whether you're at home, whether you're in a dark shower, you can do it because it is waterproof with our friends over at Manscaped. You guys got to check out the Lawnmower 4.0. Over 2 million men worldwide have the Lawnmower 4.0. So I'm talking to you, Timmy in Sweden. You can get this Manscaped and anyone else outside of the country as well. And if you use the code DNVR at checkout, you'll get 20% off plus free shipping over at manscaped.com. And check out all of their other offers as well because they have so many great things as well, including the Performance Package 4.0, which you'll get the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver. You'll get the best performance boxers out there. And, of course, you'll get the travel bag that you need as well. So make sure to check them out. Use code DNVR over at manscaped.com.
Also, you want a little confidence that comes from it in a different way. Check out Solace Meds, a premier dispensary here in Denver, in the Denver area. There are 4 locations. 2 here in Denver, including 1 just blocks from the DNVR bar, 1 in Fort Collins, and 1 in Wheat Ridge. And they've got deals for you in September, including 25% off Can America gummies, 20% off strains tinctures, 25% off Rockin' cartridges, 20% off Glacier concentrates, and guess what? You can use the code DNVR20 and get 20% off your order and a free Solace bar or King Cone. And you can get that at any Solace Meds location. Here's what you do. You go to solacemeds.com, SOLACE meds.com. Place your order. Use that code DNVR20 to get 20% off your order, and then go to your nearest location and pick up your order. It couldn't be easier. They'll make your cannabis shopping experience a delight. So check out Solace Meds, SOLACE meds.com. Use that code DNVR20 to get 20% off your order and get a free Solace bar King Cone with that code.
And Mace, all this ball talk has me thinking about our friends over at Ball, and they want to hire you so that maybe you can purchase products from Manscaped. Maybe you can purchase the Solace Meds products, but Ball is a fantastic place to work, and I'm talking about Ball as in the name of the arena that the Nuggets and Avs play. I'm talking about the Aerospace Technology Company, and I'm talking about the company that made over 100 billion cans last year. They want to hire you for their 400-person production plant here in town, and Golden, they are expanding their efforts, and they want to bring you on board to work with them. So make sure to go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or you can text Golden to 77222 to find out more information about finding a job at Ball. And not only do they want to hire you, but they want to hire you at a great place to work. Ball is all about giving everyone an equal opportunity. So when you're hired, that's what they care about. And then once you're hired, they want to give you opportunities. They want to support the groups that you're interested in. So it's a great place to work. So check them out at jobs.ball.com. Search for Golden or text Golden to 77222. All right, Mace, let's talk to the people.
First of all, we have any super chats today, Allie, or anything? Okay.
No super chats. You guys making me sad
and
right
anything interesting in the comments, or not really, Allie? Okay, sorry about that. Just before we dive in here.
All right, so we do have some questions.
Mix them in.
Okay, we'll start with a couple from the comments from the live comment section then.
The first thing is a statement. Ryan says, "I want Mace to bring back the bucket hat."
That's only kind of like, it's like a camping summer thing though. Like, okay, you want me to, like, I guess, Ryan, I will wear a bucket hat in studio next time I'm here.
There you
I will
go,
remind
Ryan.
myself to do that just for you.
How about
Even
that?
though I probably can't wear it the whole time.
Why not?
Because if I do, and then it's like the light, and it's going to affect the light on my face, and I'm going to look like I'm in the shadow the whole time. I don't know. I'm not sure it comes across very well visually on camera. So but yes, I will have it on. I will have it, and I will wear it, Ryan, just for you.
All right, next question we have is from Ryan as well. He's asking, are we upset about the time management with Vic?
This year? No.
No.
I'm not. Now, I know there were some questions about Vic, not calling timeout before the end of the half to get the ball back. Vic was asked about that yesterday and just simply said, no, that was something that we didn't want to do, and I don't blame him. I mean, really, the cost to benefit ratio is you're probably risking a lot more potentially throwing a pick or a pick six or something in that situation and losing all momentum going into half. So I don't have any problems with his time management so far.
Yeah, I know people are and looking at the end of the first half, but I completely agree with that. The game situation dictated not calling a timeout, because the worst thing you could have done there, remember, you had the Jets getting the ball coming out of halftime. The worst thing you could have done was given the Jets an opportunity for a quick 3 points, and then they get a touchdown coming out of the half, and they've done the 2-for-1 around halftime, and it's gone from 17-0 to 17-10.
Right.
That's because think back to, we kind of saw it was a different scenario, but Sunday Night Football, the Niners got the 2-for-1, right? Mm-hmm. And basically turned 17-0 into 17-14 and changed the entire complexion of the game. In that moment, there was no reason to do that. I haven't had any beef with Vic's time management this year. I think he's done fine.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we have a couple more live questions coming in. And, of course, you can leave your questions live on here. But if you want to guarantee that we'll read your questions, go to thednvr.com. Go to the podcast tab at the top. Click on Broncos at the top. Click on the very first one. Scroll to the bottom. And if you're a member of our family, you will be able to leave a comment, which, of course, we'll read on the next day's podcast. But we'll get to a couple more live comments before jumping into those really quick.
Okay, We've got here, it's Strez said, chances we've limited our play calling on offense and defense to limit what we put on film when we play some legit contenders.
Ooh, because honestly, I kind of had that speculation going into this game this weekend that I feel like you weren't going to show the Jets anything unusual because you didn't want to put anything on film. I think there are some looks. I think there are some blitzes that we have not seen yet that we're going to start seeing this week.
Yeah, I think so. I think something that was also they were kind of holding back was the KJ Hamler package. Mace, he was only on pace before he got hurt for less than 400 receiving yards this year. Yeah. He was not a big part of the Broncos offense. That's why losing him, it doesn't really impact them as much as it should. And why I say as much as it should is I think they were saving a lot of KJ Hamler plays for when they had to score a lot of points against Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Raiders.
I don't have that.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe you can. It's obviously not the same type of player, but you can maybe alter them for, say, Albert Okwuegbunam.
Right.
To create it's a different kind of mismatch than you'd have with KJ Hamler.
Right. Yeah. And I mean that the mismatches you can create with Noah Fant and Alberto are huge. All right, I think we have one more live comment here.
Yes, from Grant saying, what team would we have to handily beat for Mace to say, quote, okay, yeah, we're 100% legit?
Handily beat?
Yes.
I mean, I think they're a legitimate playoff contender right now.
But where you're saying 100% legit. So I think he's saying Super Bowl contenders.
I think if you beat Baltimore by a couple of touchdowns, I think we're starting to say that.
Okay, but we're starting to say that when you're 100% legit about it, Mace.
Ooh,
is it Baltimore? It's okay if it's Baltimore.
100% I think would be if they just these next three. We talk about them being 6-0. If they're 6-0, I think they're legit. And I don't think going to Cleveland would change that.
I agree.
Because you'd say, oh, well, you lost, but it was at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Tough loss.
I agree with that. And then the one that you don't have to handily beat them, but if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, look, the AFC has run through them for many years now. That's the team that you have to beat if you want to say they are 100% legit. And they have 2 games against them, so they can go 1-1. But if they beat the Chiefs, then you are saying the Broncos are 100% legit. All right, Mace, let's hop into the comment section on the pod side of things. And first one's coming in for you.
Yeah, from Count Bridgewater. Now it's no longer Count Locula. My gents, in light of the Stearns INT and the mounting injuries, I'm starting to see another positive aspect. of Peyton's shotgun draft approach. The more guys that you draft not only gives you more chances to hit, but also can provide you with depth pieces that often help soften the blows of injury plagues. The late-round guys might not get second contracts, but if they are decent and can fit within your scheme, they can keep you in games that you may otherwise be destined to lose should your 2s and 3s be subpar and love the count.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point. And Mace, one thing it reminds me of when I think of this was Will Parks a successful draft pick?
Yes.
Without a doubt, in my mind. Now, was he a guy that got a second contract here? No. Broncos let him go. Then they brought him back for a little bit. But, I mean, we're talking, that's a late-round guy that the Broncos got that had contribution. Wasn't a full-time starter, but started when they need to and added so much depth. So, the count, I completely agree.
Yeah, and, again, you're defining success differently with day 3 guys, especially late day 3 guys like round 6 and 7. But if they help your depth, they can step in from time to time. That's why, like, Jonathan Cooper is so intriguing.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a starter in the making. Does he look like somebody who can come in, play some snaps, hold his own, and do that for a few years? Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Next one from Melbourne Bronco. Hi, guys. I've been on the Teddy train since day one. I love that guy, but I hope George Payton holds off on any contract extension. After seeing that Green Bay QB12 do his stuff, he has to be number one on George's 2022 plan. With his defense, Denver will be Super Bowl favorites next year. Cheers.
Yeah.
There's a long ways to go. There's a
Long
lot
ways
of
to
things
go.
that will happen with the Broncos, with Teddy, with Aaron before we start thinking about that again. But you're right. I mean, this team with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we talk about how there's not everyone is bought in on the Broncos yet. If the Broncos are in this exact same spot with Aaron Rodgers playing the exact same way as Teddy, just because his name and number are different, people would be 100% bought in.
I think if you gave all of Broncos country truth serum and asked them with that Sunday night comeback, were you thinking about the possibility of seeing that in orange and blue?
Oh, of course.
That about 95% after taking truth serum would say, yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah, I don't even think that people need truth serum to admit that. I think people like Melbourne Bronco. I think they put it on the back burner, but Mace, it's still bubbling back there.
It is. And even it says a lot that at 3-0 it's still bubbling.
Right.
And the other thing, did you see that handshake between Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur?
No.
I mean, it was like, just brisk. And these are two guys that have been close.
Right.
But everything with Aaron Rodgers, and Michael Silver had a really interesting thread about this on Twitter.
Right.
Everything with Aaron Rodgers has kind of driven a wedge between these two guys who are both kind of part and parcel of the same tree, the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan tree.
Understandably so, but come on. I mean, what's Matt? I mean, I understand why Matt LaFleur is upset, but I wouldn't blame Kyle Shanahan for trying to go after and get my quarterback. I mean, sure, I'd be pissed about it, but I can't blame Kyle Shanahan for doing that. And did you hear Aaron Rodgers after the game when he was talking about what Matt said? He said, yeah, Matt told me to go to the sidelines on all of these plays. And what did he do? He did the complete opposite of that. And it worked. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers wasn't wrong, but man, and then for him to admit that and kind of throw his coach under the bus like that and just show that he deliberately disobeyed his coach, that's something there. Not everything's good in Green Bay.
But here's the thing. I love that because he is so unruffled and so cool that it felt just calm, like middle of the second quarter. But he understood exactly how much time was left. And I think teams should do that more often. If they work on it enough in practice to where it's something where everyone is well drilled at getting to the line quickly, getting set, then you can take advantage of the space that everyone gives you across the middle. And especially if you've got a good enough kicker, and with the pride of CU Mason Crosby, the Packers do, and the Broncos do with Brandon McManus, I look at this if I'm the Pat Shermer or Teddy Bridgewater, and I say, you know what? With 37 seconds left, with a guy who is good out to 58, 59 yards to give you a chance, this is exactly the kind of drive I want to see you run if we're in that scenario, right down to going across the middle.
Yeah. Well,
Perfectly okay with that.
I agree. I'm totally okay with that. I just thought it was very interesting that he not only disobeyed his coach, but then really threw him under the bus.
They're just trying to get through this year without killing each other.
2-game win streak now.
Yeah. Well, wins are going to make everybody feel good, and it's probably going to be 3 after they maul the Steelers Lambeau Field on Sunday.
Next one from Pismo Beach Bronco 07. Not going to lie, hearing about the great time at the bar and all the DNVR OGs attending made me happy, but sad too. Having a big case of FOMO. I want to hang with you all. The count, etc. Hard to wait until our visit for the Washington game. Considering making a spur-of-the-moment trip this weekend. Hey, any chance RK can get a round of golf in? This might be a little bit of an incentive for me to go. I don't think I'd slow you down. Go Broncos, loving the vibes lately, and I know RK isn't here right now, but unfortunately, he's going to be out of town leading up to that game. He'll be here for the game, but I don't think he'll be able to get a round of golf in. But we look forward to seeing you in Washington. Hey, I'll be here if you, or we'll be here after the game and at the tailgate if you make a stop by this weekend. And Mace, I can only imagine if the Broncos make the playoffs and there's a home game, how many OGs and how crazy the bar is going to be.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be it will be absolutely wild if there's a home game. It'll be wild if there's a road game as well.
It will
but that's going to be locals. If the Broncos win the division, it should be you know what? Maybe it should be like a homecoming.
Exactly. That's exactly how I view it.
And maybe even beyond winning the division, maybe we need to start something of like a DNVR Broncos homecoming. One weekend a year, encourage people to come back to Denver from wherever they are, visit the bar, visit the tailgate, everybody come together.
And let's hope it's during the playoff game. Dan Burke says, hey, guys, so the Patriots signed linebacker Raquan McMillan to a 1-year extension yesterday. McMillan tore his ACL in training camp and is out for the season, but Belichick was very complimentary of him, and they decided to extend him on a low-risk deal that's essentially a prove-it deal for next year. Do y'all think this would be a good move for Josie Jewell? It's to be determined if Vic will be back next season, but Josie was playing great in his defense, and the original starting linebacker are both free agents. Even if it's something like 1 year, $4 million for Josie, are y'all okay with doing that?
100%. At that number, the question is, would Josie Jewell do it?
I think so.
If he's willing to do,
unfortunately, I think that's something the Broncos can take advantage of. When I say unfortunately is I hate players having to do that, but what's he going to do? He's not going to go get a long-term deal that's worth big money. He probably wants a little prove-it deal.
The three best players on the Broncos defense in those first 3 weeks were Von Miller, Josie Jewell, and you could debate whether it was Justin Simmons or Pat Surtain.
Yep.
But the point is, you could not
go
through
of them.
The three best players without saying the name Josie Jewell.
I agree.
And that's enough for me to say, if you're willing to take a prove-it deal, let's do it.
Yeah, so Dan Burke, I think you hit it on the head. I would do that as well. I wouldn't even be surprised to see if it's like $2.5 million.
And that injury, it's a pec injury, it's tough, but we have seen Elvis Dumervil recover from that and have no drop-off.
Yep.
It's an injury. It's kind of like Von Miller's injury last year. Once you get past it, you should have no effect going forward.
Right. And that's the only good thing about these injuries
Right.
is that there's no effect. Next one from Ozzy says, my boys, the mighty reach of DNVR made a purchase from Manscaped and put the code DNVR, expecting it not to work way down under, but bam, 20% off. I think it's because Mace has been doing the crop reviver spots and it gave me luck. I'm very happy with how he started, but seen us caught out in the past, cautiously optimistic. Chiefs can't stop anyone, so if teams can slow them down offensively, the AFC West is going to be a big fight, and a big fight it's going to be. The Kansas City Chiefs right now tied with the Detroit Lions for the worst defense in the NFL. They're giving up 31.7 points per game. Just terrible.
And another thing is they're turning the ball over. 6 giveaways in the last 2 games. Of course, that big fumble in Baltimore, and then 4 turnovers against the Chargers. And
including a killer pick by Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And so now we've seen, okay, what can deflate the Chiefs? It's forcing takeaways and also just having enough of an offense to keep their defense off the field. And oh, by the way, this is where the Broncos offense is well equipped to do that.
Yep.
The Broncos offense is specializing in long drives. They're basically averaging about a minute per drive more per drive. Pardon me, I'm going to get that out. A minute more per drive than they did last year.
Yeah, which is huge. It's huge to the offense, to the defense.
It adds up, and it's one of those things that you don't notice it much as it's happening, but you notice it when you step back and kind of see it accumulating over the course of a game.
Yep.
So Yeah, you can dream big of beating the Chiefs, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Because you have the formula to do it.
And the defense has been there. Now it's just can Teddy do it? And I think he can.
And can the Broncos force takeaways? We just saw Brandon Staley, Vic Fangio protege, and his defense get the ball out 4 times. And the fundamentals are great. They're punching it out. Mm-hmm. They're well coached. I want to see that from the Broncos. I want to see more punch outs.
I agree. Next one from Mile High Buckeye. My boys, building on my comment from yesterday, I'll be flying in Saturday morning, and I just got my tickets to the Tailgate and bus party. Nice. Very excited for this weekend. I was thinking about getting a new jersey while I'm out there. Aside from a Vaughn jersey, all my other ones are outdated. My question, should I go with the GOAT and get a McManus jersey, go big with a Teddy jersey, or maybe another player? What do you think? Go Broncos, and I'll see you Sunday. My rec on a jersey would be going with one of the 2 Bama boys. And I just think Pat Surtain wearing number 2 is so cool. But now you got to gamble with going with the rookie. But, man, I think he's already proven just how good he can be.
You know what? I'm always going to advocate for the retired player jersey, so can't see this, but I'm holding up an image of a Steve Atwater throwback jersey.
Love it.
Never
blue.
Going out of style. This is what no offense to the guys that are on the team right now, but retired jerseys don't go out of style. Steve Atwater, that jersey you could wear for the rest of your life and be good and be quality and represent. So, with all respect to the current players, I think you should go with my friend Steve Atwater, who, by the way, was wearing his gold jacket, his Hall of Fame jacket, in the press box.
Yes, he was.
Last week.
Pretty baller.
Oh, yeah. Just when he gets that Hall of Fame ring here coming up in a few weeks, he's actually told me that's the ring he's going to wear. Because there are fewer of those than there are Super Bowl rings.
I love that. That is great. That is great.
Yep. Oh, man. He has the jacket. And the liner of the jacket is so cool. Of course, it's got his Hall of Fame number in there.
Yeah.
But the lining has the Hall of Fame logos.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It is pretty
That is a
darn
baller
sweet.
jacket. But, yes, Steve Atwater is the jersey you should get.
Next
Period.
one from Jock. He says, "What's up, Beast? Listening to you guys talk about DNVR community on the Monday pod convinced me that I had to become a member. I'll be flying into town from New Jersey for the Broncos-Eagles game, and I can't wait to meet y'all in person. Check out the bar and enjoy the DNVR tailgate. Much love, and keep up the good work. We got him," just as Count Bridgewater says in the comments.
You know, there was a lot of jersey representation at the tailgate this past weekend as well.
Yep.
And we saw that when the Broncos went to Jersey a couple weeks back, a lot of orange in the stands there at MetLife Stadium.
Yep.
Jersey Broncos represent, man.
Yes, they certainly do. And Jock's so happy to hear that you're joining us, and I can't wait to meet you in just a couple of weeks here. Next one from Broncos Girls 723. Chico Bean, I'm sorry for your loss. I lost my mom 19 years ago to cancer. Please hit me up if you ever need to talk at Broncos Girls 723 on Twitter. My name is Patience. I can tell you it makes the world of difference when you're talking to someone who knows how you're feeling, as I found out when I found my friend Kevin back in California 15 years ago. Nothing Broncos related, but I felt compelled to reach out listening to yesterday's pod. To be honest, if anyone in the DNVR family needs to talk for whatever reason, reach out. I love my fam and want nothing but the best for each and every one of y'all. Wow, patience. I mean,
Nice,
just showing how incredible our community is, and that's what we're all about here. And so happy that Jock just joined the community. Chico Bean, we're thinking of you, and great to have you with us. And then, of course, patience, just showing us what we're all about. So thank you. Next one from Butch Cassidy. Gentlemen, who has contained on Lamar this week? Who will Vic assign to him, and who do you think should be assigned to him, and are they different? Well, Mace, we're going to get into this tomorrow, just because I think that's an obvious key to the game is containing Lamar Jackson. So we'll break that down tomorrow. Great question, Butch Cassidy.
Yep, Omaha. I really like the way Peyton has moved so far this season to add depth off other teams' practice squads. I thought the linebacker they signed off the Rams was a solid depth pickup, Micah Kaiser, and now the addition of David Moore gives them a guy who has proven to be an offensive contributor with 13 scores over 3 years in Seattle. Do you think he can get up to speed and be a factor in 3 wide sets before Jerry comes back?
Yes, eventually. I don't think that's going to happen this week, though.
Yeah, it's probably at least 1 week off, probably 2. Made some big plays. Intriguing pickup. Also, same alma mater as Trinity Benson.
Yeah, how
By the
about
way,
that?
did you notice not only Benson, our old friend Khalif Raymond
Yeah.
is making plays in Detroit as well.
He was their leading receiver this past week.
Yes.
Incredible.
He was catching everything. They were using him in the slot. And I'm thinking, man, I wish the Broncos could developed him for that.
If they only had creativity.
They could use Khalif Raymond in the slot right now is what I'm saying.
Yes. Oh,
right? At this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about a guy that can take the top off.
That's true. Broncos only. End of the pod question. What do you think the chances are the Raiders game in Week 6 gets flexed to Sunday Night Football? Current matchup, Seattle at Pittsburgh. Out-of-state travelers need to plan ahead.
Mace, the thing about Pittsburgh is they don't look very good right now, but they're a big market. That's a game that typically does well in prime time. So I wouldn't think teams like Seattle and Pittsburgh would get flexed out of that yet. I can see the Broncos' second game against the Raiders being flexed. Now that one's, of course, the day after Christmas or one of the Chargers or Chiefs games. But, man, I think the Steelers would have to be really bad next week in order for that to happen.
Next couple of games for the Seahawks, by the way, are the 49ers and the Rams. So they would have to make a call on that. I know they can do the Week 18 flex, they can do it the last minute, but usually they like to make a call a couple weeks in advance.
Right.
So we probably know on this by next week.
Who do the Steelers have?
Steelers have Green Bay and then Denver. And the Seahawks have at San Francisco this week and then the Rams at home. I guess the point being that if both the Seahawks and Steelers lose, and they will be underdogs in those games, and they're 1-3. The best they would be is 2-3, and maybe they think about that.
Yeah, maybe they do, Mace. I don't think they will just because, again, Pittsburgh, but, man, that would be fun. And final one coming in from Chico Bean says, I know 3-0 is a great start, but here comes the real test with these next 4 games. What are your predictions for these next couple of games? I think we'll go 3-1 and lose to the Browns, but hopefully we make it out 7-0. Speaking of dreaming big, we'll just end this pod dreaming big, Mace. What do you think the chances are they're 7-0?
Not good. I've got Cleveland and Sharpie as an L.
That game is just so tough. And did you see what Myles Garrett did this week?
Yeah.
4.5 sacks.
Look, I know they lost to the Chiefs in week 1. That could have easily gone in the other direction. They're getting OBJ back. As long as he doesn't disrupt the chemistry of that team, Cleveland, they're a legit Super Bowl contender. Mm-hmm. And, in fact, if I had to pick a Super Bowl team out of the AFC right now, they look like the most complete team to me. And so the Browns may be the best team the Broncos faced this year, and they're facing them on Thursday night in prime time on the lakefront.
Yep, on the road. Tough.
That might be the toughest game of the schedule.
Very well,
so
could be.
You could lose that. You could lose that, and it's okay.
Yeah, you're a believer that that's tougher than Kansas City, right?
Well,
I think Kansas City on the road's tougher.
But here's the thing. You know the Chiefs. You know your division rivals, and what that usually does is it makes those games closer over the long haul than you might expect because you have that familiarity.
Is it 11 straight games they've lost to the Chiefs?
It is.
So familiarity.
But it hasn't helped in terms of win-losses. But, for example, the game last year in December, that was close.
Close. Yeah.
Broncos had no business being in that game, and they were. You know them, they know you. You know, and even a great
know them,
team,
they know you.
You know their weak spots enough. And the Broncos have had chances in midst of all this over the last few years, all this crap. They've had chances to beat them in 2016 in Denver, in 2018 in Denver, in 2020 in Kansas City. So
they've had chances. They just haven't been able to do it.
I think the Browns game just does not shape up as a good matchup for them.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's a brutal one. Yeah. The NFL did the Broncos no favors.
And we got one hint under the buzzer here from some people call me the Space Cowboy. How do you think the Broncos would have fared so far if Drew Lock were the starting quarterback? NFL trivia question. Who holds the record for most receiving yards in an NFL game? I think that receiving yards record, it's Flipper Anderson, right?
I don't know. How many did he have?
Didn't he have like north of 300?
A couple guys have north of 300. Didn't Julio have a game of 300?
Yeah, hang on. 336 yards, Flipper Anderson.
Whew, how much was Julio's?
Still the record. Hang on. Julio Jones, that was against Carolina, right?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. All I know is he had an incredible
Julio
game.
Jones had let's see, career high in a game, 300. 15 for 3 or 12 for 300 on 15 targets.
Just incredible.
6th highest total in league history.
Wow.
Yeah, so others have done it.
Yeah, others have done it. It's insane that
but
a
yeah,
wide receiver has had 300-yard games.
Flipper Anderson still the record set back all the way back in 1989. And as for how the Broncos would have fared if Drew Lock were the starting quarterback, look, I pointed this out on Twitter yesterday, how a big difference between Teddy and Drew is what they do under pressure. Teddy Bridgewater's pass rating under pressure 111.5 this year. Drew Lock's was 26.2. And I think the Broncos would have beaten the Jags and the Jets no matter what. I think that Jets game becomes a coin flip. The pressure, especially from the interior, we saw Bridgewater dealing with it. Does it force Drew Lock into the kind of mistakes that he made last year under pressure?
Yeah, they could very well still be 3-0, but they don't look nearly as good. And
it turns week one into a coin flip, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Allie, we have one last live question before we get out of here.
Yes, we have Angel here asking how to get tickets to the tailgate and the party bus.
Great question. Go to thednvr.com, check out our locker, or of course you can go to the Broncos Twitter page, DNVR__Broncos, and it is our pinned tweet at the top. Click on that, and boom, you get your tickets there. So thank you so much. Can't wait to see you out there on Sunday for this game.
Yeah, that bus, of course, the bus ride, it's 30, tailgate only is 20. But look, parking is expensive around the stadium. You got Uber and Lyft. They throttle the rates coming out after the game. So you're going to get your money's worth if you get on that bus by not having to deal with that coming out of the stadium, getting some distance away. Then you can catch the Uber from the DNVR bar after you have dinner here.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of getting your money's worth, make sure to check out our friends over at Green Mountain Dental. You got to go get your teeth cleaned anyways. Might as well go to a place that is fantastic. They're the best damn family-owned dentist in the metro area. They're part of our DNVR family. They've been rocking and rolling with us for a while. They hang out in the bar here with us so you could see them. And then also, if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush from our friends over at Green Mountain Dental. All you have to do is schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam to get that free Sonicare toothbrush. So check them out over at Green Mountain Dental. And Mace, that'll do it for us today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you tuned in live, please hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. We'll be going live tomorrow morning again. So thank you guys so much for rolling with us. We will break down how to beat the Ravens tomorrow. So make sure to tune in. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.